but you will see them eventually. All right, so we're going to spend another day on special right triangles. And like I said, I'm going to give you a sort of a shortcut way to do it, okay? And so I'm hoping yesterday when we were setting up our proportions, I'm hoping that you notice some things that make life a little bit easier. Like, for instance, here, we knew that the legs of the 45-45 triangle were both 8. And then it turns out that the hypotenuse just multiplies by radical 2. Okay. Well, so if you know that, what we have here in this 45-45-90, we're on 7-2. So same notes as yesterday. There you go. All right. So, I have this little open space right here, and I think you probably do too. And so that's kind of interesting information. If you know the leg, then getting the hypotenuse just multiplies it by the radical 2. So when we're looking at a 45-45-90 triangle, there's only 2 options here. You either have a leg or you have a hypotenuse. Let me write that down. We have a leg or we have a hypotenuse. And if you know the leg, if you know the length of the leg, then to get to the hypotenuse, all you have to do is multiply by radical 2. You take your leg length and times by radical 2, 8 radical 2. All right? So what do you have to do if you have the hypotenuse and you need to get back to the leg? What do you suppose you need to do? Divide by radical 2. So easy. All right? So with that in mind, that's supposed to be a radical 2. All right? So we either need to multiply by radical 2 if our hypotenuse must be longer, and if we need to get shorter, we're going to divide by radical 2. All right? So this is a nice little graphic that might help you, and so we're going to practice with this a little bit today. And then, so here's one thing we can do, sort of a shortcut maybe. And then for the 30, 60, 90 triangles, we have 3 options. We have the short leg, the longer leg, and we have the hypotenuse. So there's a couple of options there. And so again, I have another sort of graphic that we can use. And, maybe we noticed some things. You'll notice here on this one we did, if we had the short leg, that's the short leg, y turned out to be 36. What did we have to do if we had the short leg? How do we get the hypotenuse? Times it by 2, exactly. Okay, so again, with the little graphic, we have on a 30, 60, 90, so we have a short leg, a longer leg, and we have a hypotenuse. So we have 3 things, the short leg, the longer leg, and the hypotenuse. If we're at the short leg and we want to go to the hypotenuse, all we had to do was times by 2. So if I'm starting with the short leg, to go to the hypotenuse, all I had to do was times by 2. So if I have the hypotenuse and I want to get back to the short leg, what do I have to do? Divide by 2. All right, because that short leg is shorter. I've got to divide. All right. Now, the longer leg, the side opposite the 60-degree angle, you'll notice if we knew the short leg, then to get the longer leg, it turned out just to be 18 radical 3. So the 18 stays, and all we had to do was multiply by radical 3. So if we had a short leg and we want to go to the longer leg, all we had to do was times by radical 3. Now, if we're starting with the longer leg, how do I get back to the short leg? Divide by radical 3, all right? And so both of these are 2 little graphics that we can use to kind of help us out, just looking at what we're given. You'll notice in the 30, 60, 90 triangle, we always have to get back to the short leg first. All right, we want the short leg first, and then we can move from there. So if we have the short leg, we can get everything really easily, but if we don't, we have to go to the short leg. All right. And so these are two little graphics that I learned many, many moons ago from another teacher that I think is pretty cool. So again, now this is just another option. So we're going to do a couple problems to kind of practice with this, all right? And then I'm going to give you your worksheet. You're going to have the whole period to get caught up, okay? All right, so here we go. Did you write it down, man? Yeah? Good. All right. Okay. So I am going to rewrite my little graphic here on this page so that I have it close. What kind of triangle is number 10 here? 45, 45, 90. 45, 45, 90, there's a leg and a hypotenuse, and that's it. If we have the leg, how do we get to the hypotenuse? Times by radical 2. If we're at the hypotenuse, how do we get the leg? Divide by radical 2. Beautiful. So what do we have here in number 10? We have the hypotenuse of 28. So what do I need to do to get the leg? Yeah. So 28 divided by radical 2. All right, what do I have to do now?
You have to do times by radical 2 up and down.
Yeah, rationalize times by radical 2, top and bottom. Beautiful. Rationalize. All right. So in the numerator, that gives me 28 radical 2. So 28 radical 2 over what's on the bottom? 2. And then what happens with the 28 radical 2 over 2? Yeah, 28 divided by 2 turns into that 14. So we get 14 root 2. And that's both of them. Why is it both of them? Isosceles. The 45, 45, 90. 45, 45, two congruent sides. Isosceles. Okay. Pretty good, right? Pretty easy? All right. Let's look at number 13 here. What kind of triangle do we have for number 13? 30, 60, 90. All right. 30, 60, 90 has a short leg, a longer leg, and a hypotenuse. If I have the short leg, how do we get to the hypotenuse? Times by 2. You have to keep it straight now. So really important that you get them straight. And if we want to go from the hypotenuse to the short leg, we can divide by 2. Times by 2 or divide by 2. And if we have the short leg, how do we get to the long leg? Times by radical 3. This is why you want to write this down until you have it perfectly memorized. And it's important to remember, radical 3, if you plug it into your calculators, radical 3 is like 1.7. That's shorter than the 2. So it must be the shorter leg. It's not the long thing, okay? All right, so let's see what we got here. Here I have 11. That is the short leg because it's opposite that 30-degree angle. So if I have the short leg, what should we do to get the hypotenuse?
Times it by 2.
Times it by 2. So what's the hypotenuse?
22.
22. That was easy. All right, I don't even have to show work for that. And then if I have the short leg, how do I get the longer leg? Times by radical 3. So it's just 11 radical 3. All we have to do is multiply by radical 3. So that also super easy. So 11 radical 3. So when you have a short leg, getting your 30, 60, 90 triangle, super easy. All right. Let's see what happens when we don't have the short leg. So let's look here on number 16. What leg did they give us on number 16? The long leg. So from the long leg, my only option is to do what? No, I'm here. The only thing we can do is divide by radical 3 to go to the short leg. So I'm going to take my 6 and divide by radical 3. What do I have to do when I do 6 divided by radical 3?
Times radical 3.
Multiply top and bottom by radical 3, rationalize.
3 over 6 over radical 3.
6 radical 3 over
3.
3.
And then that's going to be 3 over 1.
No, not 3 over 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 over 1, or just 2. So 2 radical 3. All right, so that is my short leg. When I divided by radical 3, that gives me 2 radical 3 for my short leg. And you'll notice I write it right on the triangle. That's 2 radical 3. I think it's easier when the number is right next to it. All right, and then now I have the short leg. So I'm here at my short leg. How do I get the hypotenuse? Multiply by 2. So this is just 2 radical 3 times another 2. 4 radical 3, yep, 4 radical 3. So we're multiplying the regular numbers together. So this becomes 4 radical 3, all right? What do you think of this graphic method? Is it way easier? Yeah, it is. But it's important. So the reason I didn't want to start with it is because I wanted you to know where those things are coming from, all right? Like to say you do this. This is called a trick, all right? I don't like teaching tricks. I want you to be able to go back, well, there's similar triangles. I can set up a proportion all day and night, every time, all right? And that has meaning. This you'll forget in a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to remember this 20 years from now. But maybe setting up proportions, that's something you'll do all the time, all right? All right, cool. Let's look at 18. Number 18, what kind of triangle do we have?
60, 30, 90.
30, 60, 90, yeah. And so we're back here with our short leg, long leg, hypotenuse. And what information did they give us in this one?
The long leg.
No, hypotenuse. We got the hypotenuse. So we're starting here at the H. So what must we do? Divide by 2. All right, so to get the short leg, we're going to divide 38 by 2. That is that, 19, right?
Yep.
Okay, so X is 19. Now, how do we get to the longer leg? Times radical 3. Well, that's just 19 times radical 3, or 19 radical 3. So easy, all right? Which is really quite nice. All right, so then we've got these compound problems here. Let's just do a couple of these. Let's look at 20. Let's look at 20. We've got X, Y's, and Z's we're trying to figure out here. So I have this first triangle is what kind of triangle?
Right triangle.
Isosceles, 45, 45, 90. Okay. It is isosceles. That's important to recognize. And I've been given the leg here. How do I get the hypotenuse? Times radical 2. So X is just 32 times radical 2. That's all we have to do, times by radical 2. So X is 32 radical 2. Now, this other triangle below here, it doesn't have any side lengths on it, does it? We need a Z, we got a Y, but I'm missing... Ah, very good. We have 32 because those legs are congruent. Now, I have a 32 there. And what part of this triangle is that? Yeah, it's the hypotenuse. Yes, the hypotenuse, we're going to divide by 2. That's 16. That gives us our short leg. So the Z is 16. And then if we have the short leg, we just multiply by radical 3. So we get 16 times radical 3. Isn't that awesome? So easy, right? These things are all over the SAT, guys. So if you can remember 1 radical 3, 2 for your side lengths of a 30, 60, 90, or 1 radical 2 for your side lengths of a 45, 45, 90, these are all over that. Okay. You can also do it with a Pythagorean theorem. Like, there's lots of ways to get the answers. But for speed, this is the best way. Let's look at 22. Man, the printing sucks here. I'm going to start with this little triangle over here. This little baby right there. What kind of triangle is that little baby?
30, 60, 90.
30, 60, 90. Good. And we have been given the short leg. That is the short leg, 7 radical 3. How do I get x? Times it by 2. Very good. We had the short, we had a short leg, so to get the hypotenuse, we times by 2. And that is the hypotenuse because there's a little right angle right here. So we're going to multiply by 2. So 7 times 2 gives me 14 radical 3 for the x there. Bless you. All right. This other triangle, also a 30, 60, 90, I have a z and a y. Again, I'm missing a side length, so what do I need to do? Find it. I need to find this side length right here, which I can do. I have my short leg. This is the long leg. What do we need to do? Yeah, so 7 radical 3 times another radical 3. Ooh, what is radical 3 times radical 3?
Would that be 21?
It is just 3, right?
1?
No. Radical 3 times radical 3 is radical 9.
Oh, times. Never mind.
Yeah. All right. So that is just a 3. 7 times 3 is 21. All right. And so this becomes 21. I'm just going to smush it right there, 21. So now we have a side length. And what side did they give me now? It's the short side of our other triangle. So if I want 42 is y, we double it to get the hypotenuse. And then what is our longer leg? 21 radical 3. Yeah, just times by radical 3. So, it becomes really easy. So 21 radical 3 and 42 for the y. When you get good at those little things. Does that help you?
Yes.
Yes? All right. Are you good now? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have another work.